Level 1. The first 48 hours. The first payment was $80,000, wired to an account in Cyprus that your name was nowhere near. The ask was simple. Rule against the admissibility of a wiretap in a RICO case. Fourth Amendment precedent, chain of custody issues, the kind of technical ruling that appellate courts shrug at. Perfectly defensible. The kind of decision a real judge, a principal judge, could have made on the merits. 3 defendants walked. One of them owned 12 strip clubs, 2 garbage companies, and had personally ordered the beating of a union organizer in Newark. You had dinner with your family that night. Your daughter talked about her history project. Your wife opened the bottle of wine. You smiled and passed the bread. That is the thing nobody prepares you for about corruption at this level. It doesn't feel like corruption at first. It feels like survival, like pragmatism. You tell yourself it was one ruling, one close call that broke the wrong way. Any reasonable judge could have gone the same direction. By the second payment, you stop telling yourself that. Level 2. The psychology no one prepares you for. Here is what changes inside you, and it happens faster than you think. The first week, you are terrified. You read DOJ press releases about judicial corruption cases the way other people read the weather. You Google FBI sting operations on federal judges at 2 a.m. with your phone brightness all the way down. You jump at emails from the clerk's office. You reread your own rulings obsessively, looking for anything that seems too obvious, too tilted, too convenient. By week 6, something quieter and more dangerous takes over. The fear doesn't disappear, it just becomes background noise. Like tinnitus, you learn to function around it. You stop reading the press releases. You start sleeping again. And then, and this is the part that will genuinely disturb you, you start to rationalize at a professional level. You are a federal judge. You have 22 years of jurisprudence behind you. You know how to construct an argument. You know how to build a legal framework around any conclusion you need to reach. You become, without meaning to, the best defense attorney your handlers could ever have. Because the reasoning is always airtight. The precedents are always real. The procedural logic always holds. You are not faking rulings. You are selecting which valid rulings to make. That distinction keeps you functional. It is also complete fiction, but it works well enough to get you through the next hearing and the next dinner and the next morning where your daughter kisses you goodbye before school. Level 3. Understanding the machine. By month 4, you understand the structure. Not fully, they make sure of that, but enough to know where you sit inside it. The man on the bench, Dimitri, though you suspect that's not his real name, is a liaison. A translator between people who run things and people who are useful. The organization behind him is Brodfa, Russian organized crime with operations across 17 cities, 3 continents, 6 industries: real estate, port logistics, cybercrime, fentanyl, and increasingly, judicial corruption. Because nothing protects an empire like owning the people whose job it is to destroy it. You are not their only judge. You suspect this immediately. You never ask. Your value is specific. Federal District Court, Eastern District, which means RICO cases, federal drug conspiracies, wire fraud, money laundering indictments. You are positioned at exactly the point where the government brings its heaviest weapons to bear, and where a single ruling can blow the entire prosecution apart before it ever reaches a jury. A suppression order here, a motion granted there, a sentencing recommendation that comes in soft. You never exonerate anyone outright. You don't need to. You just create enough procedural daylight that the defense attorneys, the expensive ones with midtown offices and Boca Raton tans, can drive their clients through untouched. You are not a criminal, you tell yourself. You are infrastructure. Level 4. The trap reveals itself. This is the level nobody who takes the first payment ever fully anticipates. By month 8, you understand with bone-deep clarity that you are not a partner. You are an asset. And when assets become liabilities, they get liquidated. You've seen enough federal cases to know exactly what that word means in practice. You know too much. You've seen case files that were never meant to leave their dockets. You've met Dmitry twice in person. You've moved money through structures that, if traced, would unravel networks spanning half a dozen active federal investigations. The moment you try to walk away, you become the single most dangerous loose end in their entire operation. The trap has teeth on both sides. The FBI on one side, Dmitry's people on the other. And you, suspended in the middle, in a mahogany chair wearing a black robe, ruling on cases where defendants are sometimes people you've been briefed on in ways that never appear in any court record. You stop sleeping through the night. You start varying your route to the courthouse. You install a security camera at your front door and tell your wife it's because of the neighborhood. You keep ruling, you keep collecting, you keep passing the bread at dinner. Level 5. The architecture comes down. The agent who cracks it isn't who you expected. A young AUSA, an assistant U.S. attorney, maybe 32, impossibly thorough, notices a pattern in your rulings. Nothing criminal on its face, nothing that screams misconduct, just the pattern. Cases involving a specific cluster of defendants where procedural outcomes broke in statistically unusual ways. She flags it internally. It reaches the FBI's Public Corruption Unit. They don't arrest you immediately. They watch. And watching is worse because you don't know. You keep ruling, keep collecting. The wiretap goes up on Dmitry's phone first. Then the financial threads get pulled. Then they execute a search warrant on the Cyprus account's parent structure, and your name surfaces 3 layers deep inside a corporate chain that traces back to a wire from a Delaware shell company you touched twice in 14 months. The morning the FBI knocks, you are still in your robe. Literally, you had just come off the bench. 2 agents and a federal prosecutor you recognize from cases you've presided over. She doesn't make eye contact. You don't run. There is nowhere to go. Somewhere beneath every rationalization and every perfectly defensible ruling, and every dinner where you smiled and passed the bread, you had always known it ended here. The charges: bribery of a public official, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit racketeering, read into the record in the very courthouse where you once commanded the room. Your wife finds out from the news. Your daughter sees it on her phone at school. Level 6. What remains? The sentence: 14 years federal prison. No parole in the federal system. You will be 68 when you walk out, if you walk out. You will never practice law again. You will never sit on a bench again. The diplomas will come down. The photograph with the president will go into a box that no one opens. 22 years on the federal bench, a record most lawyers would die for. And somewhere, on a park bench, in a city you'll never know, Dmitry is already sitting next to someone new, speaking quietly, almost pleasantly, like he's commenting on the weather. The envelope is already on its way. The cycle continues.